For over 100 years, Rotary members have taken action when challenges arise. We know what people can do when they come together and put others before themselves.
The team lead said they will continue the campaign to fight against the coronavirus.
Local Rotary clubs deliver food and supplies to people in need.
Strangers become friends, helping hands multiply, and problems turn into solutions. We are Rotary. We are people of action. Learn more at rotary.org/action.
Hello, my name is Adam Lara. I will serve as your host today. I'm a proud member of the McAllen Rotary Club. Welcome to the McAllen City District 1 debate event, which is the fourth of 4 debates brought to you by the McAllen area clubs, which the clubs include the McAllen Rotary Club, the McAllen South Rotary Club, and the McAllen Evening Rotary Club. Rotarians have had a presence in McAllen since 1920. Yes, 100 years. We celebrate 100 years of providing service to our McAllen community, building goodwill. We are committed to improving our local and international communities. We are a diverse group of professionals and community leaders. We have a lot of fun and great fellowship. Today, we are excited to welcome all of you to our 4th virtual debate for the City of McAllen elections. This debate is being presented on Zoom and as well as being streamed through YouTube, Facebook Live. It is available for viewing after the live event also. But first, we open our Rotary meeting as Rotarians do all over the world, using the Rotary protocol with a prayer, pledge, and our Rotary 4-way test. So our 3 presidents of the clubs here in the McAllen area will present this for us. I ask everyone to please remain seated as we open the meeting.
For over 100 years, Rotary members have taken action when challenges arise. We know what people can do when they come together and put others before themselves.
The team lead said they will continue the campaign to fight against the coronavirus.
Local Rotary clubs deliver food and supplies to people in need.
Strangers become friends, helping hands multiply, and problems turn into solutions. We are Rotary. We are people of action. Learn more at rotary.org/action.
Dear Lord, we ask Thee to bless all those gathered here today. Bless this debate, which we will all partake of, and grant unto Rotarians health and strength, and guide them as they continue to give Rotary service throughout the world. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Please join me in the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number 1, is it the truth? Number 2, is it fair to all concerned? Number 3, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Number 4, will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Now, live from McAllen, we are joined with guests throughout the region, Rotarians, friends, McAllen residents, and of course, our District 1 City Commissioner candidates. Our moderator today from the McAllen South Rotary Club is our very handsome and talented Dan Worthington. Dan, before you get started, I'd definitely like to thank you for your hard work of getting all these candidates together. It's kind of like herding cats sometimes, but you did a great job for us. So thank you. He will be introducing the candidates and managing the debate. So Dan, over to you.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. Let me begin by now trying to reestablish the credibility of the debate, since Adam has grossly misrepresented my appearance. But thank you, Adam. And my name is Dan Worthington. Welcome to everyone who is tuning in on Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube. On behalf of the McAllen Rotary Clubs, we very, very much appreciate your participation. And that goes for those of you who watch this debate later as it's being recorded. This is the debate for the McAllen City Commission for District 1. We'd like to thank the candidates who joined us, Tim Wilkins, Tony Aguirre, and Lucia Thompson. Tim, Tony, Lucy, we appreciate not only you appearing here today with us, but obviously we appreciate your willingness to run for this office. Being a candidate has to be disruptive to your family lives, to your work, but it's necessary, it's needed, and we're very much appreciative of it. Before I introduce the candidates, let me briefly discuss the ground rules. The candidates will be permitted to make an opening statement. There will then be questions, some follow-up throughout the debate, and then a closing statement. The opening statement will go in the order the candidates appear on the ballot: Mr. Wilkins, Mr. Aguirre, and Mrs. Thompson. The closing statements will reverse that order. Lucy will go first, Tony second, and Tim will give the last closing remarks. And with that, let me tell you a little bit about our candidates. Tim Wilkins and Tim's family are from the Valley. They've been here longer than Rotary has been here, and Adam has told you that Rotary's been here now about a little over 100 years. Tim is the founder and CEO of CAD Property Tax Consulting, a McAllen-based company. He is married and he has a family which includes Carson, Dylan, and Hunter. And as an aside, each of our three candidates, as I reviewed their introduction, share not only their love of McAllen in common, but they're each parents, and they each have 3 children, just as a coincidence. Mr. Aguirre is a local businessman. He has worked with the city. He has worked with our community organizations. His businesses include McAllen Bolt and Screw, have included Broadway Hardware, Sylvan Learning, Riverside Development Services. Tony has served on the McAllen Public Utility Board for 27 years and has served as its chair for about 10 years. For about 20 years, he has served on the Valley Initiative for Development and Advancement, the McAllen Chamber of Commerce, the McAllen Boys and Girls Club, the JCs, and the McAllen EDC. He likewise is from here, lives here, and has 3 children. Lucia Thompson is also a McAllen native, born and raised. She has practiced law in McAllen for over 20 years. She's board certified in family law. She's been a board member of CASA, the court-appointed special advocates of Hidalgo County, and she's been an advisory member of the Lamar Academy. And she also has 3 children, Diego, Lily, and Emma. With that, let me begin, Tim, with you for your opening remarks.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I ran for this office in the last special election, and I lost in a tight runoff. At that time, numerous large developments had gone in right on our city limits. Top Golf, Main Event, Papados, HEB Stadium, Bird Ogden Arena are all right outside our city limits. And not only do we lose property tax revenue to these cities, we lose the sales tax benefit. Over the past 15 years, McAllen has become the whole of a donut as our surrounding cities beat us to economic development opportunities. And that's why my campaign has donuts on all the signs. I have a vision and very specific plans to reinvigorate our city's core and at the same time generate the types of commerce that will take us safely into the next 20 years. Most of you have seen in the news how companies are leaving other states due to unfavorable tax situations. Texas is the 8th largest economy in the world, and our region enjoys a spectacularly low cost of living, robust workforce, and proximity to Mexico. We could easily, through our economic development arm, create some programs to entice those companies to locate here for either manufacturing or assembly. We could then strengthen our partnerships with Mexico and the maquilas just south of us. And in addition, we could work with UTRGV and the STC Community College to develop curriculums to train our students to meet the criteria these companies need for a workforce. This would create jobs, growth, and commerce across the board. It would benefit our entire community and combat our historically low median wage, and it would insulate us from a dependency on retail sales tax that is disappearing. This is just one item I propose as part of my vision for McAllen.
Thank you, Tim. Tony, your opening statement.
Thank you, and good afternoon, McAllen friends and neighbors. I'd like to especially thank all the Rotarians of McAllen, past and present, for all the work they've done for humanity. I have not lived my life as a politician. I have lived my life as a public servant, and anyone who knows me would agree. I love what I have done and what I continue to do. Service to humanity is the best work of life. And I have lived that kind of life since I was involved with a young adult organization, the McAllen JCs. I was so fortunate to work with over 100 other business-minded young adults in the mid-'80s and throughout the '90s. We believe performing service projects for the benefit of humanity was our purpose. We learned how to plan, prepare, and organize before implementation, so our service projects would be successful. The fruits of this success would benefit either individuals or organizations in need. And we would document the project from its inception to its fulfillment, so our future JCs would benefit from our service and our experience. As simple as this may seem, I made this my norm in life. And I am so happy I did. What others see as obstacles or as too much work, I see as another job that needs to get done. There are times to lead and there are times to follow. And I love doing both. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Lucy, before I pass the mic to you, and I use that term with some irony here, there's some technical issues with the sound. I want to let the candidates know we'll have the sound dubbed in if it's not fixed here quickly. So Lucy, with that, please give us your opening statement.
Thank you, Dan, and thank you everyone for tuning in today to listen to this. It's enlightening to see that people are getting involved and wanting to participate. A little bit about myself. I am the daughter of a single mother who has a huge heart and a tremendous work ethic. I'm the product of Lara Projects Housing. I attended elementary, junior high, and high school here in McAllen. I've been a lawyer in this community for 20 years, as Mr. Worthington told you, and I'm the proud mother of 3 children. As a lifelong citizen of McAllen, I appreciate the growth we've had in McAllen, and I want this progress to continue. But I think we need to do it with a leadership that adds a more hands-on, accessible approach. I think it's crucial that we listen to small businesses. They're the backbone of our community. We have to hear what it is that they're telling us and the complaints that they have. I think it's also important that we have a collaborative effort, not only with McAllen ISD, but with the regional partners. We need to be sure that our children are also getting the benefits that children in larger cities receive, which is good schools, good parks with good lighting, and facilities for children to practice their favorite sport in. I think we need to be a city that's more enticing to people that aren't from the Valley, so that when they do come here for work purposes, they end up staying here. I think we need to address the traffic issues that we have, especially in District 1. And as an attorney, mediator, and a collaborator, I want to ensure that McAllen remains a great city and that we continue working as a team. I also think that at the end of the day, we have to be a role model to the neighboring cities around us. And we need to continue to do so by electing officials and leaders who are focused on doing good and who will lead by example. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy. Tony, question 1 is to you.
Okay.
And this is the why elect Tony question. Tell us, Tony, what you bring to the table to the voters of District 1 that make you the person to vote for as opposed to your opponents.
Well, I've been involved for many, many years in my community. I started my first business in 1979. And I'm taking a love for this community, not only my city, but all this area. I've been a very regional person. I believe that McAllen is and has to continue as the leader for this area. I'm very proud to say that we've had some great leaders in the past. I've worked with some of them, and I know of so many before me. I think that I bring that experience. I've served this city again for 27 years in the PUB, but also in many, many other organizations. And so I bring that to you. And I'm a mentor, and I believe in bringing people together and work as a team. And I want to bring this city commission into a good working team for the betterment of our beautiful, great community.
Well, thank you, Tony. Lucy, you'll answer this question next. Lucy, this is the why you, what does Lucia Thompson bring to the table to the benefit of the members of District 1 that is unique to you as opposed to your opponents?
I think one of the things that I stand out in, and I'm not too sure, but I'm fairly certain, about 99% sure, is that I'm the only mediator of the 3 candidates. To be a good mediator, you have to have excellent listening skills and collaboration skills. This means I work well with others. On top of that, in terms of mentoring younger attorneys, there are attorneys that are licensed less than 5 years that I call young attorneys. These young attorneys, if they call me up, and they have called me up and asked any questions, I'm readily accessible to them. Even people that don't practice in the area that I do, I'm accessible to them as well. In terms of my role as a mediator, I'm able to help people reach a consensus when they're very emotional. I don't react with anger when I'm making important decisions, and I promise to bring these skills to City Council. I think it's important to also note the obvious answer, which is my gender and my childhood upbringing. I'm obviously a woman. I'm a mother, I'm an attorney, and I'm a businesswoman. As such, I bring special skills, I think, that are different from my opponents, in that I'm able to multitask and do more than one thing at once. And I think as a father, you do as well. But I think as a mother, you tend to do a little bit more at times. I'm also the daughter of, like I said earlier, of a single mother who raised 6 children. As such, you learn to budget things. You learn to appreciate things a bit more. And thanks to my upbringing, I think I've reached a point in my life where I'm able to give back to my community in the best way that I know how. Thanks.
Thank you, Lucy. And Tim, before we go to you, I do want to let the audience know we're aware that there were technical issues that I'm told have been corrected. The audio that was missing from the beginning of the debate will be available and dubbed in for you to watch once the debate today is concluded. With that, Tim, this is the why should voters of District 1 vote for Tim Wilkins question. What is it that you bring to the table that you believe is unique to you and differs from that of your opponents?
Well, 17 years ago, my wife and I started a property tax consulting firm shortly after we finished college at Baylor University. Since that company's inception, my wife, who is a CPA, has worked with me as my partner and CFO. Throughout those 17 years, we've protested property taxes on literally billions of dollars in real estate in Hidalgo and Cameron County, as well as all over the state of Texas. I've advised large banks, large corporations, regional developers, local investors, local landlords, small business owners, and most importantly, homeowners on the complexities of our property tax system. And we've done so while we worked to minimize their risk and protect their interests from out of control property taxes. I have conversations almost daily with property owners from all asset classifications of real estate. I know their strengths, I know their weaknesses. I have the exact pulse on what's going on in our community and what isn't, because I hear their testimonials. I see the numbers from the various operations. I synthesize the data on every sale and real estate market development in our county and surrounding areas, because we have to prepare for our protests. So just from my everyday business operations alone, I know exactly how we can target relief for our small business owners as well as our homeowners. On the flip side of that coin, I also own small businesses myself. So I'm a small business owner as well with an event center that I own named Sophie's Saloon. So I feel that I'm well versed and able to address the needs within our residential communities and various business sectors. That kind of knowledge, experience, and expertise is not represented on our commission at this time. And I firmly believe I'd be a strong asset to the commission for these reasons. If we're going to survive in this post-COVID world, we've got to take targeted, calculated risks to manage our growth, while at the same time making sure we don't break the backs of our taxpayers, which is what's currently going on.
Thank you, Tim. Lucy, the next question will begin with you. COVID has forced us to change a lot of what we do and how we do it. Social media, which was already creeping toward dominating how we communicate with each other and how candidates communicate with the voters, was already drifting toward domination. As it relates to your campaign, do you believe social media has been a positive influence, a negative influence? Do you think it has been fair or unfair?
I think social media has been crucial to my campaign. I think it's one of the easiest ways to communicate with constituents. I have people that will send me messages, sometimes 2, 3 in the morning. Typically, it's about 10 o'clock at night that I'm getting some messages. It makes me accessible to people that normally wouldn't, despite the fact that there's a cell phone number on my push cards and business cards. Social media tends to be how people are communicating. On top of that, I think it gives everybody a forum to be able to have a voice. There are some people that are just a bit shy and not willing to speak up in forums like this. I also think that whenever you have social media come into play, I think it reduces the expense that candidates have to spend on some elections. I think at the end of the day, even some of our city elections can get a bit expensive. And social media, I think, has reduced some of that expense. You're not having to go out, and it's not logical to have an event with 100 people, and people aren't doing that. But an event with 100 people is costly versus doing something on social media and having a targeted audience to listen to the message that you're giving. It's definitely been crucial for my campaign.
Thank you, Lucy. Tim, I'll ask you the same question. As it relates to social media and its growing influence over all of our lives, and particularly with politicians, candidates, anyone serving their communities, how have you seen social media impact this campaign for you? And do you think it has been positive, an overall negative, something in between? And do you think it's been fair or unfair?
I think social media is a net positive in the sense that it gives you immediate access to a large number of people with a click of a button. And I think at its inception, it was designed to knock down distance barriers so people could communicate with one another, share photos of their family and, milestone events that are occurring, like birthdays, births of children, anniversaries, whatnot. But as we've gotten into this polarized society politically, I think the darker evil side of it has exposed itself, and I have a big problem with that. I actually started a campaign that has quite a few signatures to end what I call cyberbullying and anonymous fake profiles on social media. And, I've been the victim of some of that. I think it ought to be legislated where if you've got a social media account, your real name ought to be attached to it. You can always say whatever you're free to say, but you're also going to have to face the consequences if you're saying things that are harmful to others. And the anonymous aspect of it is what I think is kind of cheapens the effectiveness of social media. And I'd like to see that addressed.
Okay. Tony, same question to you. Have you seen social media with regard to your campaign be positive, negative, a mixed bag? And how do you feel it has treated you fairly, unfairly, or neither?
Well, we've had to all learn how to live with social media, the positives and the negatives. And I always try to tend to be a positive type of person. I truly have enjoyed what our team has done and can you hear me? Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were waving at me. But I continue to use social media as a way of getting out. I'm an abrazos and shake hands and like to see people eye to eye. But, I think this is a way of getting our message across. It is when you're campaigning, it's not your normal way of life. I'd rather be serving, but you have to get your message across, and you got to get people that have, especially new people that have come into the area, to get to know you. I ask them to talk to people and ask people if they know me. But we definitely are using social media to get the word out, and we're trying to be as positive as possible. And that's just the way of being. But I'm very, very proud of what have been portraying out there, and showing the beauty of this city, and also showing some of the needs of this city. And I am not blind to them at all. So I thank my team for bringing out, my message to as many people as possible.
Well, Tony, you raised an interesting point, and let me ask you a follow-up. In terms of how people perceive Tony Aguirre, social media sort of takes away the truly personal side of that. That is, your ability to interact with someone and someone judge you based on a an in-person interaction. In this campaign, do you believe you've been unfairly characterized, or do you think social media and elsewhere has basically gotten it right?
I think I've been blessed. I think I have been fairly characterized. In fact, I think my two opponents, I commend them for trying to seek this position. And, we've been, I think, kind to each other, at least kind to me. So I plan to share, my thoughts and with as many people as they need, and they can. I'm a very approachable person, so that's what I'm asking people to. If you like to get a hold of me, I am truly available at all times. That's how I've lived. I'm available 24 hours. Believe it or not, I am available 24 hours. It's not just a saying. People that know me, they know.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Tim, let me come back to you with the same follow-up. Do you think so? Again, understanding that perception of people has changed, that is, in some part, from a in-person understanding to social media and the like. Do you think that during this at least this limited to this campaign, that you've been fairly or unfairly characterized as a candidate through social media?
I think that's a fluid situation. I would say that historically, the way I used Facebook, I used it as a weapon of sorts several years ago to expose things that were going on within our municipality that I thought people should be aware of and things that I disagreed with. And to do that, I did it in a manner that was a little bit aggressive, a little spicy, and it was by design because I needed the eyeballs and I wanted the attention of people reading it. If it was just bland, humdrum content, we wouldn't have gotten the impact that we ultimately did. That came with a personal sacrifice. People that don't know you and see just those activities think, oh, this guy's aggressive, he's a hothead, whatnot. And I can understand and appreciate that. So I shelved those activities in that manner for those reasons. There are still people that run around and discuss who I am based on their opinions. Sometimes that's with ill intent, sometimes it's not. But there's no substitute for talking to somebody face to face. And I would encourage anyone, if you hear anything about me, good or bad, don't believe any of it. Let's get together and talk so you can make that determination for yourself. And I'm available at any time of your choosing.
Tim, thank you. Lucy, same question to you. The inability to, sort of mold our perception through face-to-face contact is certainly, for good or bad, under siege with social media. Has social media treated you fairly or unfairly, in your opinion, as it relates to this campaign?
I think social media is a platform that I am fairly new to in the last probably 12 to 24 months. Before that, as Mr. Wilkins said, I used it for birthdays, for anniversaries, for family time and celebrations. This campaign has changed that dynamic for sure. I've endured personal attacks from one of my opponents, but as your candidate for District 1, I'll remain professional in my response. You won't see that come out. At the end of the day, I'll use my energy to act in the city's best interest and not on attacking people. Plus, as your city commissioner, my goal would be to not to divide the citizens. My goal would be to unite the citizens so that we have a cohesive message when it comes across. I think that through social media, you can get that accomplished. But again, I agree with both of my opponents that it's so much better to do that in person. On social media, I think you tend to have, like we do in the practice of law, we call them paper dragons, people that will say certain things in writing. But I think face to face, when you can have a discourse between people and actually interact, usually you can reach a consensus on something. And I think social media doesn't allow for it to happen.
Lucy, thank you. And Lucy, you're going to begin the question.
Mr. Worthington?
Yes.
I believe that's a call out on my behalf, and I'd like a chance to rebut.
Okay, Mr. Wilkins, 30 seconds if you would, please rebut. And then
Ms. Thompson referenced that she was attacked by one of her opponents, and that person is me. I did not attack her. I defended myself, and she vindicated me in her own words. She told many, many people in this municipality that I bribed her to get out of this race. Did not happen in any way, shape, or form. On video, she vindicated me in her own words. That video has been published on social media and is on my websites, and I encourage everyone to take a look at it and make a decision for yourself. I've never done anything underhanded in that manner, and it's a shame that she chooses to continue to play these cards, but the video speaks for itself. You need to watch it. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Aguirre, Ms. Thompson, any follow-up? Otherwise, we'll move to the next question.
No follow-up.
Okay, Mr. Aguirre?
No, none.
Okay. Mr. Wilkins, this question will begin with you. The city is slated to receive about $42 million in COVID relief funds. As a district commissioner, how do you think that money should be spent?
Well, we obviously have a lot of deficiencies within our city operations, things that could be done a little bit better, things that need to be done, period. I'm of the opinion that right now we're in an economic climate where we have a lot of cheap money. And by that, I mean, the municipality could go borrow large sums of money at 1-2%. If there are any infrastructure projects that we need to undertake in the next 10 to 15 years, I'm of the opinion that right now we need to take calculated risks, seize on that opportunity right now and get after it. Because if we're going to have to do it in 10 or 15 years, no matter what, the chances are that those interest rates are going to be significantly higher. The cost to carry that debt is going to be significantly higher. For that money, I'm a saver by nature. I think the city would be better versed if it's possible to put that money into a interest-bearing type mechanism where that money, where we can, instead of touching the principal, we could use the interest. And at first, what I would do is take care of our police and fire officers and make them the highest paid officers in our region, base that on tenure. So they're incentivized to stay. But we had 2 officers killed last year in the line of duty. And I doubt that very many people know their names. And that's a shame. And I think that that's a fault of our city hall's, I guess, attitude towards all this. But those are the things I would do. I'm out of time.
Thank you, Tim. Lucy, same question to you. As a city commissioner, how would you prioritize the use of the approximately $42 million in COVID money the city of McAllen is expected to receive?
I think this is a huge opportunity for McAllen, considering this year, we're getting double the amount of money that we received last year. I think it's important that we continue to offer small business assistance like we did last year, but on a larger scale. I think it should be done through an application that's completed and it's vetted. Maybe even some interviews be done to make sure that the businesses that are receiving this money and applying for this money are businesses that truly need this money. I think, and I agree with Mr. Wilkins about the infrastructure. For sure, infrastructure is a big one that needs to be addressed. But along the lines of the drainage, which we typically look at, I think we also need to look at sidewalks. I think if we're receiving CARES money, we should try to use it towards something that we all saw. And I think something we saw during this 12-month pandemic so far is that people are outside more on sidewalks. People aren't wanting to go to the gym. People are outside and trying to get their exercise in that way. I think people have seen the deficiency in some of the sidewalks that we've got, and this is an opportunity for us to try and change that.
Thank you, Lucy. Tony, same question to you. How would you prioritize use of the $42 million in COVID money the city expects to receive?
Well, the city received $18 million earlier in the first go round, and the city used that money in many different ways. It was able to be qualified by using the police and the fire payrolls that they used to justify a lot of the use of the 18 million, along with other expenses that we had endured. So we have we've used those $18 million and still have a few $1 million that we could get. In this go round, revenue loss is a key component that to qualify for those $42,500,000 that we're gonna receive. We should get the first half in the middle of May, is when the 21 million should be coming in as part of this stimulus, basically COVID stimulus program that is coming out within 60 days of its inception is when we should get the first half. And I truly, truly believe that we need to use this in a very wise way and that in things that will help us in the future. But we have to combat COVID, and we need to immediately put our monies to combat and take care of our COVID needs. I know I'm out of time, but the most important thing is doing some collaboration with our county, which is getting $212 million. And if we could do something to improve our drainage system throughout this area, it will help us tremendously with all of our efforts and monies that we're putting inside our city. We need to be able to get an outfall of our waters in order to get them out of our city as fast as possible. So I really would encourage the county to use a vast amount of the monies for the improvement of our whole drainage system. Thank you.
Mr. Getty, thank you. This next question, we'll start with Mrs. Thompson. We'll then go to you, Mr. Aguirre, and we'll finish with Mr. Wilkins. Mrs. Thompson, without regard to which governmental entity is ultimately responsible, whether it be federal or state or municipal, are there any circumstances under which you would support a proposal as a city commissioner to establish temporary housing locations for unaccompanied immigrants who find themselves in McAllen with nowhere to go?
And I assume by the question that you mean at the expense of the city.
That's correct.
Okay, good. Just making sure. Sorry about that.
No.
Okay. I think immigration is something that we have to look at humanely and with compassion. There's no doubt. It's a reality for us. It's been a reality for us for years. I think it is something that is difficult considering the federal constraints that we've got. I think as a city, we are fortunate enough to have a nonprofit organization that has taken over some of that expense for us. I think the city has still incurred some expenses that are supposed to be reimbursed by the federal government. And it's my understanding, I think 85% of it has been reimbursed and not a full reimbursement of it. At the end of the day, I think if we do approve temporary housing, and the question was for unaccompanied immigrants, so I'm assuming that would be children. For children, that the main priority would be our citizen safety and to make sure that it's in a location that would allow for the citizens of McAllen to be protected. But I think at the end of the day, the way we effectively address this issue is that we have a collective voice from our neighboring cities. We get together with them, and we're a stronger force when we collaborate and when we go and talk to federal officials.
Lucy, thank you. And to follow up, if the proposal included the location to house these unaccompanied minors within District 1, would that alter the analysis that you make with regard to whether it should or shouldn't be supported and how we interact with our local municipalities?
I think at the end of the day, it should not come at the expense of the taxpayers. I think if the proposal would be that we have temporary housing, but the city pays for it, my direct answer is no.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Mr. Getty, same question to you. Understanding that responsibility for addressing this issue may rest in a location other than the city of McAllen, And setting that aside just for the moment, if you were on the city commission, are there any circumstances under which you would support a proposal for the city to provide temporary housing to unaccompanied minors, immigrants who find themselves within our city limits?
Well, very complicated answer or question. And to answer that is it has to be, we are humanitarians, okay? We have to take care of situations that occur. But we have to be real smart about this, okay? It would have to be in very dire need that we would have to. Why? Because the problem that exists is only because, and to McAllen, is because of our location of where we're at. This is an immigration problem. This is a problem of a worldly problem, okay, and a national problem. So we have to do the best that we can with our or to help our constituents and our people. What we're doing is yeoman job. We're doing a great job here in our city in trying to control what is happening to us, and we're doing it in a very humanitarian way. I'm very happy with the Catholic Charities, but also a lot of other churches in this area of the different denominations that have put efforts to this. You know, there's a lot of money being put out by the federal government in different areas. If it needs to be in an area that we have to tackle immediately, we have to respond. Yes, we will do, but it has to be in a dire need for to service this need that can occur.
Well, Mr. Gary, let me ask you a follow-up question. You raised an interesting point. So the city has partnered in the past with the McAllen Rotary Club and with Habitat for Humanity, just as an example, to help tackle a need for people who reside within our city who need help. Can I assume from your response that you wouldn't be opposed to the city directly working with other charitable groups, be it Catholic Charities, the Rotary Club, and others, to address needs in this, as relates to this question, for unaccompanied minors, but it could very well work for any other issue as well?
Without a doubt. I mean, we all have to work together, and we want to work together. It is right in our doorstep, and we are tackling it right now as best as we can. But we definitely need more collaboration, and if there's a need to further our services, we need to provide them one way or another. But it is, you know, we're going to seek input, and somebody has to lead, without a doubt, has to lead it. But without this can't fall, you know, into just for us to bear, you know, this situation. We need to get our whole region, our city, our state. We provide a lot of money to this state in sales tax dollars. Remember, out of the 8.25 sales tax dollars that we collect, only 2% stay in this city. 6.25% goes to our state. So that's over $180 million a year that goes to our state. So there at times needs to be monies put back into our area that has produced money for this whole state. So yeah, it's a complicated, we all have a heart, and it kills us to see what's happening, okay? But we as a community cannot brunt this whole thing alone. We need to be part of the solution, and yes, I think service organizations and churches, you know, do a lot to this to help this crisis.
Mr. Giddy, thank you. Mr. Wilkins, same question. If you were elected and you were sitting on the city commission representing District 1, are there any circumstances under which you could support the city directly addressing the issue of how the housing of unaccompanied immigrant minors?
Well, I think that they're already doing that. So my answer is no, definitively no. But regarding our immigration issue, it's no secret that I've been staunchly opposed to the manners in which it's been conducted and the way our city has thrust itself into the issue. The secrecy behind it and the lack of transparency regarding our expenditures is unnerving to me at best. And now just looking at this from a bird's eye view, the Border Patrol has 9 sectors going from Rio Grande Valley all the way up to San Diego. Those regions, well, the Rio Grande Valley they're absolutely dwarfing all the other sectors with the number of immigrants being apprehended in our area. Children, unaccompanied children, family units, and then also single adults. And you have to ask yourself why. Like, why is Rio Grande Valley the hotspot? Why is everybody coming through this doorway and not the 8 others? To me, it's because our city forced itself into this position with the red carpet that they rolled out with their partnership with Catholic Charities. The word traveled quickly that there was a charity here, that as long as you can just get on that raft and get over here, there's an organization willing to bathe you, feed you, give you money, arrange transportation to anywhere in the United States, and it's a free-for-all. And that word has increased the traffic that we're getting. Now, I understand the humanitarian issue where you want to take care of your fellow human being, but the real problem here is that the way we're facilitating this activity at this moment is what's making them use children as a ticket to gain entry into the United States. So when our city participates with Catholic Charities in this manner, and we facilitate them coming and being successfully processed in large numbers, that creates demand for more family units to be created in Mexico and the other countries where they're coming from to come through here again. And we perpetuate this crisis. So I don't intend to declare that I can resolve the federal immigration issue, which is obviously a federal one, but I can guarantee that I will work tirelessly to end our city's cultivation of it. To me, there's no need for the processing of immigrants for COVID or any other manner within our city limits. I've dealt with our federal officials, and one of my resolutions has been put into place, and that was we need a federal contractor engaged to handle the COVID testing. Our city finally caved to that, and there's a federal contractor doing the testing on the city property right there behind the old La Posada Hotel. The secondary one is where they claim that our transportation hub is the magnet. And if that's the case, the simple fix for me is for the bus station to get a federal transportation waiver where the buses can pick up the illegal immigrants directly at the processing facility and head north from there. There's no need for us to be in the middle of this process. And I would encourage everyone to offer the charity that they want to offer. I offered it myself in land to Catholic Charities to build an additional facility outside of city limits, and I couldn't even get a call back. So I think what you'll find is that this charity doesn't really want charity. They're using this as a business, and they want to keep a stranglehold on it where they're the only ones involved.
Mr. Aguirre, I'm going to ask you and Ms. Thompson as a follow-up to address Mr. Wilkins' broader point. That is, what policy should the city have? Set aside housing. But what policy should the city have with regard to immigrants who find themselves, or however, regardless of how they find themselves here? What should the city policy be?
What we're doing now is, I think, controlling this influx coming in, that it doesn't get to our whole city. I have gone in and out and around this whole area for the last 3 months, and I have seen where there has been some times when there was concern of congestion, but I've also seen times that it's in the vast majority of times that people and this flow has come in and out, has been bathed, has been given food and at times clothing and everything, and get back and get into the bus station and go wherever they're going to go. And you know, I've seen that flow in and out. You know, so to say that that alone, nobody's out in the streets of McAllen, you know, it is a yeoman job that we've done through our organizations, charitable organizations, and through the city, police, fire protection, in controlling that. So, I mean, I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I go downtown. There's people shopping. There's people doing business as they have, and it's, you know, blocks away or right there in the midst of it. And there's been a good control of it. Now, again, there's been times that there's been an overflow, but it's been far. They're sending them to other places, to Donna. At times now, it's going to Guadalupe Church in the Mission. And then if they found COVID, they found a hotel where they're housing them. So if they get that and they're getting tested, and they get tested and they're positive, they're immediately not going into the Catholic Charities facility or into our community. They're going into, and they're putting them into a hotel that to try to quarantine them over there. And so there's been action taken. Obviously, we don't want them to be getting out in buses and going into the United States, you know, with having a COVID problem. So there's been a lot of work done, and it's been a monumental task, and we've tried to do it as best as possible. Again, I don't sit in the city commission. I sit in the McAllen Public Utilities, and I will obviously try to be the guardian through your ad valorem taxes and all the monies in this city to make sure that if we're putting out money for this crisis control, that we are just justifiably get our money back for it. But again, we have to take action when action needs to be taken. And again, I think this city in many ways feels that, yes, we have to do something, but we're trying to do it as much in control as possible. I'm sorry, Dan.
No. Listen,
it's a toughie.
But Thompson, well, no, believe me, Mr. Getty, I get it. And Ms. Thompson, before I pass the question to you, let me say this. We certainly recognize that these issues, a lot of these questions are very difficult to answer in 90 seconds or 120 seconds. They are complex, they can be nuanced. And so if we cut you short, it's not because we don't appreciate that, simply because we're limited on time. These are difficult issues, and we appreciate your efforts, Mr. Getty, to give us your position on that. Mrs. Thompson, I'm going to ask you the same question as our answers earlier rolled over into a more general discussion. As a city commissioner, what do you think the policy of the city should be with regard to undocumented immigrants who find themselves, regardless of how they got here?
I think at the end of the day, what we're currently doing, which is making sure that they're getting tested at no expense to the city. This is an expense that is being taken on directly by Catholic Charities. I think that needs to continue. I think there are people in the community that volunteer at Catholic Charities. I think that's a way that we're ensuring that our citizens' safety is being looked at and is of paramount concern. I think at the end of the day, whenever they are, like Mr. Aguirre indicated, if they do test positive, then they're quarantined at a hotel. I think that's, again, taking care of our community. The idea, again, like I said, of temporary housing at the city's expense is not something that I agree with, but I don't believe that's something that's been done at the moment. And I don't think that's in the foreseeable future either.
Okay, thank you. Question 6, we'll start with you, Mrs. Thompson. We'll go to you, Mr. Wilkins, and Mr. Getty will finish with you. and we'll call this the moderator's privilege question. Would you support the city making an effort to work more closely with local service organizations, whether it be JCs, the Rotarians, Junior League, and others, so that we can have a place to hold our events that is economically feasible? Spoiler alert, this is an easy yes.
I was going to say.
Okay, yeah. So I wanted to go ahead and tell you the right answer is yes. Now tell us why it's yes. I'll rephrase it. Lucy, why is the answer to that question yes?
I think at the end of the day, the service that's provided and the benefit that we receive is unlike anything else that we've got. I think at the end of the day, coming together and trying to accomplish that is more fruitful. So why not do it? I think it's a fairly simple, obvious answer.
We'll accept your yes, and Mr. Wilkins, same question to you. Why is the answer to that question obviously yes?
Yeah, so look, these are, when you're talking about city facilities, we all paid for them. Our taxpayers paid for them. Now, I understand there's an operational cost involved, and salaries need to be paid, janitorial services need to be used. But you look at how many days a lot of our facilities are dark, and it's wasted opportunity. So I'm pretty sure, I think you guys are the ones that hold the crawfish boil. That used to be at the old convention center. I know now you guys have moved it off site. I think it's a shame that that's not happening inside McAllen like it always had traditionally. I think there's other really, really good organizations that should be afforded access to these, especially on our off nights. Maybe economically it's not, suitable to give away primetime Friday, Saturday night type usage, but there's 6 other days in the week. And that's something that, from just a quality of life perspective, the city facilitating those types of things, it brings awareness to your organization. It provides an outlet for people to do things. And it's just a feel good thing that we ought to really do more of. And that's something I would definitely focus on.
Tony, same question to you. This is the easy question before we get into more difficult ones. Why is the answer to that question yes?
Well, all three of us agree that we have facilities and we should be real proud of them. I remember the days of the old convention center also. God, we had some great activities, a lot of charitable events. And I think we still do have some, but we could really promote it more. I think it all needs to come back to our facilities. And yes, there's a lot of dark nights and days in our facilities. So we need to just work better. And I think we will all pledge that we need to bring back the events into our community if we've lost some of them, and to try to make this the kind and great city that it is. And our people are what makes us. So we do need to gather together once we tackle COVID, and once we are post-COVID, we need to tackle all our things together by uniting together. And the city needs to make an effort to encourage it to be within our city limits.
Well, of course, we all look forward to getting through COVID and get back to the days when we can get together. And now we know we'll have at least one vote on the commission when we come asking for a deal on the crawfish boil. We'll make sure we keep this recording handy. I want to the question 7 will start with you, Mr. Wilkins. Tony, you'll follow, and Lucy, you'll go third. And Mr. Wilkins, this really somewhat involves the donut emblem you have on your website. We've heard anecdotally, we have seen, we know about other municipalities who offer incentives to attract out-of-area businesses. What should the city be doing in addition to attracting out-of-area businesses to those of our businesses who are already here? They're local, or they've been here a good long time, and at least we we feel sometimes like there's more being given to lure someone in rather than keep and support those of us who are here.
That's a great question. So when I say economic development now, I am against what traditionally we have done and what they call these 380 agreements. And what they would do there is they would give either grant money or property tax abatements that would scale down over 5 or 7 years under the premise that jobs are going to be created. And what you wind up having happen is these business owners that utilize these things are very, very sharp people. And they'll come in and ask our city for an incentive package. And as soon as they walk out the door, they're checking with FAR, with Edinburgh, with Mission, with surrounding cities to say, hey, McAllen offered us this, what can you give us? And the surrounding cities say, well, heck, if they're giving you $1 million, we'll give you $2 million. That's how we lost Costco. That's how we lost Top Golf. I think you'll see, you're actually seeing it right now, that FAR overextended itself in the incentives that they gave to some of these developments that they landed. And they're going to be an exhibit of precisely what's wrong with that mannerism of doing it. I want, what I mentioned in my open, is to incentivize the creation of commerce, which would be to facilitate these companies coming here under the premise that we're going to help develop a workforce for you for either manufacturing or assembly. We're going to use our people, we're going to use our schools to train them, and we're going to create all the different striations or hierarchy of business involvement, from blue collar to white collar to consultants, everything here. With regard to our small businesses, you know, the city had a really good program going on last year where they were giving some grants for, you know, spiffing up your front door, your sign, you know, your business presence. I think something like that would be good. I'd like to see them maybe focus on a one-time targeted exemption for small businesses with a cap of a certain amount of employees, because, man, I'm one of them. We really took it last year. You know, my venue was closed, restaurants were closed, stores have lost retail traffic for the entire past year. You're about to see the impacts of that negative economic activity due to COVID coming up in this property tax year. And I think now is the perfect time to give them some relief so we can, you know, protect our small business core. We're nothing without it. So we need to prop them up.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. Mr. Getty, same question. How do you see the balance between attracting new business and fairly treating those businesses that are already here?
Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of study, and you've got to look at the past and what's worked in the past, what is working today, and what could work in the future. At one time, there was no maquila program. There was no twin plant operations. So you had to put an effort. Now people that are in business, companies that are in business, they know what is available on both sides of the border. And so that effort and that money spent there, okay, I believe that it's time to relook and see how much money we're putting there. I think more and more we need to look at our local businesses, try to incentivize that business so they can grow and so that they can sustain themselves and live and hire good local people. The other thing that's happening here is because of our low cost of living, there are a lot of peoples within our nation and internationally that are looking for a place to raise a family, live. And in today's world and post-COVID world, there's been a lot of businesses that know that they can function in a different way, and there are people looking to relocate. And I think we should encourage that. And I think those are good, successful people that are coming and that have the potential of coming into our area. And the other one that we need to look at is our sports tourism. We have spent a lot of money into the facilities for our youth sports, and we could really do well if we put some effort in and try to get some more sports tourism that's clean, good business that come into our community to spend money and for them to know and see and touch our community so that possibly they could relocate into our area.
Thank you, Tony. Lucy, same question. How would you, as a city commissioner, balance luring new business in through incentives with taking care of the already here folks?
I think we need to continue focusing on small businesses. Like I said earlier, and like I think we all agree, they are the backbone of our community. It's what makes McAllen unique, and we need to continue to invest in small businesses. At the end of the day, I think we also need to make the city of McAllen stand out from our surrounding cities. And the way you do that is by showing these big boxes, these big corporations, who we are and what we're about. And I think the way you accomplish that is by showing them who we are as a police department. Across the nation, you've got people who have no confidence in their police departments. In our city, we still have confidence in our police department. We need to stand out as a city when it comes to our police, to our firefighters, to our schools. If our schools don't hold up and you bring in these big boxes and these big corporations that do business here, these big corporations aren't going to stay, the general managers, the people at the higher ups aren't going to necessarily stay here if the schools aren't up to par. Also, another crucial point, I think, is that we need green space to keep people attracted to stay here and not, oh, it's a weekend, let's go out of town for the weekend. We should stay here in McAllen on the weekend, enjoy what we have in the city of McAllen to offer. So make the city enticing so that these corporations see that it's actually an investment to come and bring business to McAllen.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Aguirre, you'll be first. Ms. Thompson, you'll follow, and Mr. Wilkins, you'll finish. So Tony, I'll start with you. What is your vision for the McAllen Airport? Do you think we're about right? Do you think we need to look at expansion? Where do you see us going?
We have put a good amount of money and time and energy into our airport. And for public consumption, almost 90% of the monies that were put into the airport is not local money. It's federal and state monies that are that were put into this expansion that we did a few years back. We desperately need a second runway for various reasons. One is in case something happens and we need a redundancy, but we also need a longer to attract and get more cargo into this area, and also bigger airlines, planes to come into our area. Air traffic is very important. I truly believe that it needs to stay right there where it is. I've traveled throughout my life, and in a lot of the larger cities, airports are right in the middle of the city. They just grew all around it. If you go to LaGuardia, if you go to O'Hare, if you go to LA, if you go to Florida, it's at Miami, it's right there in the middle of the city. So we need to keep looking at making it better, but we have a very good airport that we should be very, very proud of. We need to get more flights into our area, but definitely a second runway is what we need to do. That's my view.
Thank you. Mrs. Thompson, same question to you. What is your vision for the future of the McAllen Airport?
I think the airport definitely is a big factor in making us that destination city that we want to become. We're in a good location to be a destination city. We can get there. And I agree with Mr. Aguirre, definitely. We need a second runway. There's no doubt. I also appreciate and understand that it's landlocked, that you've got some restrictions with you. You end up putting restrictions on the businesses around and how tall they can grow because of the flight patterns that come in. But I think at the end of the day, we have a clean, safe airport that's grown with the city of McAllen, but the airport needs to be more aggressive in terms of the expansion that goes along with where the city is going.
Thank you. Mr. Wilkins, same question to you. What's your vision if you were elected for the McAllen Airport?
So right now we've got a very, very unique opportunity. We're going to take Bowie Reservoir offline. That's 60 acres of prime development land right on the expressway. And it basically is just this one small street away from our cargo facility. I would advocate strongly for a vision where we use at least the back piece or part of it to expand our cargo operation. And, you know, the airport has what's called a 35-year development plan. The way I understand that it operates is that it's federally funded, but in order to trigger the federal funding, McAllen has to spend the money first to completion based on the criteria, the hit markers that the federal government gives us. And once that is done to their satisfaction, then the reimbursement comes. This steps into my calculated risk segment of my vision, where there's no doubt that right now we ought to consider speeding that process up, because there's a lot of undeveloped land around the airport right now. There's not going to be any other impact to surrounding areas because the height restrictions are already present for the existing runways. If you put another runway next to it, that radius of height limitation is not going to move very much further. So yes, definitely we need to do that. That commerce would tie in to the strategic capabilities we could give to these companies that want to locate here, which ties into my economic development arm also. So it's very, very important. And something I would be a very, very strong advocate of speeding up and doing as quickly as possible.
Thank you. With that, we've come to the time for our closing remarks. Mrs. Thompson, you'll go first. Mr. Aguirre, you'll go second. And Mr. Wilkins, you'll finish us off. Mrs. Thompson, give us your closing remarks.
Like I said earlier, I think McAllen has done a good job, but I also know that we can do better. We need to focus on infrastructure for growth. We need more roads. We need better roads. We need to reduce traffic by expanding the east to west roads that we've got. And we definitely need to focus on drainage. Another issue that I see is that there tends to be a lack of cooperation or communication with McAllen ISD, the regional partners, our state government, and our federal government. I say this because I think we need to be more aggressive in getting funds from outside sources instead of relying on our citizens to carry that tax burden. I think we have confidence in our police department, unlike other cities, like I mentioned earlier. The pandemic has shown us that our fire department and police department stepped up and were an integral part of our city during this pandemic, and we need to continue protecting our first responders. However, I think we've reached a point in our growth where we can stay stagnant and content, or we can continue to grow. I choose a continuation of growth. So it's key that we have a leadership in power that will have vision for what our city looks like in the next 20 to 30 years and not just today. I promise to work hard for this great city. I think we also need a leader who is a collaborator, who can work well with others. And I think McAllen historically has worked well as a team, and I want to continue in that tradition. I humbly ask for your support, and don't forget, early voting starts in less than 3 weeks, April 19th through the 27th, Election Day being May 1. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Aguirre?
I have lived the life of a small business owner since 1979, both as a sole owner and as a partner. So I know the day-to-day intensity and the importance of adaptability and visionary planning. My career has provided me with vast knowledge of international trade, economic development, retail, customer service, land development, and the construction of infrastructure. I will use all of these to serve this city, the city we love. Teaching and mentorship has always been an integral part of my way of being. As I act upon this complicated task that we have today and in the future, I will bring others along with me so that they can gain the experience it takes to find solutions. At other times, I will follow their lead and be side by side with them. As a D1 commissioner, I will lead as a public servant. When I see things that need to be done, I will act upon them, but I will always listen and seek your opinion. Your input is valuable to make this city continue to be one of the leaders in this area. We are the jewel of this area. It's been said before, and I said it 25 years ago. My role as a city commissioner is to always provide you with an avenue to freely express your opinion on any given subject, even if it doesn't agree with mine. That is the role that we have. That is the beauty of living in the United States of America. Everything that I have done and continue to do has been possible because of the love, dedication, and support of my family and my current and past business partners and all the beautiful people that I've employed through the years. At one time, I had 250 employees, in which you learn how to provide them with every Friday with the paycheck, with benefits, and a good place of living. But my greatest thanks goes to my God. He leads and I follow. Dios por delante. Thank you.
Mr. Aguirre, thank you. Mr. Wilkins, we'll conclude with your closing remarks.
Hi. So for the better part of 15 years, I've worked publicly and privately to inform the public of goings on within our municipality, as well as guide our city to what I consider to be a better or higher trajectory. I've been involved in local elections on behalf of other candidates. I've run for this office before and I lost in a tight runoff. I've served on city boards. I've been extensively involved in our community with charitable organizations, and I'm raising my family of 3 boys here. I'm offering you 4 years of my time, 4 years of my life, and I'm offering you my energy and unwavering commitment to protect our city. I'm offering a vision whereby with foresight, we'll position ourselves for success instead of using hindsight to look back on the things we wished we would have addressed sooner. I'm the most passionate person in this race, and I'm an open book. I hope this forum shows that. If for some reason it wasn't conveyed this afternoon, I'd appreciate you clicking on the website and giving me a few more minutes of your time to watch some of the videos where I articulate my stances on multiple complex issues when you don't have time constraints. I'm literally the #1 person on the ballot. I'm the first candidate on the ballot based on the drawing. And I'd appreciate your consideration and vote. Our city suffers from an absurdly low voter turnout historically, anywhere from 12 to 14%. I'm hoping that with the subject matter of what we've discussed, one of those issues excites you enough to motivate you to mobilize and vote. It's important. I cannot do anything without your support. So I ask you to please visit tim4mcallen.com or mcallendistrict1.com. You can text or call me at 956-624-0888. I'd love to chat with you, and we'll get together. Maybe we can eat a donut sometime. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Tim, Lucy, and Tony. I want to, on behalf of Rotary, not only express my appreciation for you attending today, for your patience with some technical difficulties we had at the beginning of today's program, but for your willingness to run. Running for office must be a terribly difficult decision and a hard thing to do, and we appreciate each of you for your commitment to the city. We share your belief in McAllen Rotary that McAllen is a special place. We are blessed with great leaders. We're blessed with people who are committed to service. And so with that, and for those of you who are watching, thank you for attending. Please vote, and let's move McAllen forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I've got a question, Mr. Worthington.
Yes.
What is Rotary?
Are we off yet?
We're a network of people like you. In fact, we're the original social network.
No.
Okay.
More than 1 million of us
we
live
positive
just about everywhere you can think of. And we
Just give me
mean
2 seconds,
everywhere.
and we'll make sure
We
we're
get
okay.
together to exchange
Control
ideas,
Central is,
grow our businesses, and make new friends.
I don't care if anybody hears
We
it.
volunteer
it's
to
just-
help our own communities or someone else's.
Okay, sure.
We're right around the corner.
Yeah, are we positive
join
that
us.
the open audio was
name is
captured? If
Rotary.
it wasn't, I was going to
Rotary
go through a
International.
reread, so you had a secondary one just in case.
No, we've got it.
Okay.
I told them we got it. We appreciate the offer. We will make
Right.
sure that the initial remarks are in the recorded version. Again, we apologize. We were 4 for 4 and everything ran okay. And we had to,
A dog, not Anthony's computer.
oh,
And like off right.
it was, we've said the dog ate our homework. It was something like that. But thank you guys once again.
Thanks. See ya.
Just dog,
Okay.
don't run me.